evening. Welcome to High Praise Ministries, the Destiny Center, where your destiny is our journey. God bless you tonight. So grateful that you joined in again for another Wednesday night recap. Yes. I want to thank God for all of you that have been participating week after week in your satellite groups. I know these lessons are perfecting you through the word, and you're growing through the challenges that have been given. We want to thank God for our scribe, the young woman that's writing our lessons. I'm telling you, she's totally prolific in her writings, and we thank God for her. Tonight, before we get started, as always, I just want to thank God for all of you that continuously give to the household of faith. What we know is that God will not forget. You're giving your time, your talent, and your treasure. God bless you. Thank God for all of you that are giving in our mortgage burning campaign. We're almost at the end of our Gideon 300 campaign, where 300 people have been asked to give $1,000. Thank God for all of our church members that have participated and given already. We're praying that you that haven't, you will still do so. And we thank God for all of the pastors and businesses that have contributed as well, and those individuals that have contributed to the campaign as well and released $1,000. God knows we're grateful, and we'll be celebrating you in the near future. We've been discussing and studying the book of Jude, the Apostle Jude, who wrote a letter to the saints, and we don't know exactly what body of saints he was writing to, but he was writing to them and telling them he wanted to write to them and to celebrate the fact that they were saved and how great God was and how great God is. But then he found it necessary, because of the dreamers, those persons that had infiltrated the church with false teaching, to warn them and tell them to contend for the faith. And so tonight we're going to pick up at verse 8, and we're just going to continuously moving forward in discussing, talking about false teaching and how they're shaping and influencing our culture, and how that is now also impacting the church. Tonight's lesson is focused on today's cultural stance against truth, and we know that to be true. So tonight I want to start by reading a portion of the commentary rendered in our satellite lesson for today. The lesson speaks of post-truth, which was accepted as a word by the Oxford Dictionary in 2016. And what does that mean? Well, it's relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are less, hear this, influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotional and personal belief. So in other words, your emotional and personal beliefs are more important than facts. So the commentary reads tonight. It says that we now live in a time when many believe that truth exists objectively. What is objectively? It means not influenced by personal feelings or opinion in considering and representing facts. So when you're dealing with facts, then the objective perspective is not to allow the facts to be convoluted with your personal feelings, opinions, or anything else. But unfortunately today, our scribe continues to write that truth has become subjective. What is it subjective to? It is subjective to feelings, opinions. They matter more than what truth really says or the facts that are rendered. In other words, truth is often subordinate to preference in this post-truth age, meaning feelings take precedent over evidence, sound arguments, and even logic. Isn't that a sad day that we're living in today? Well, this is not new to us, because we know that Adam and Eve bought Satan's lie and allowed their feelings, their desire, their need for autonomy to usurp the truth of God's single command, which was, of this tree you shall not eat of, or you will surely die. We also see, we leap thousands of years forward, where we see Pontius Pilate now in a similar situation where he makes the mistake when he dismisses Jesus as being the truth, as being the incarnate true king. And he asked, what is truth? So when he dismissed Jesus' claim, he did it because of the difficult political realities he faced as a governor in Judea. But Jesus had already, guess what? Because he's all knowing, he had already basically answered the question before Pilate had even asked. He said, I was born that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of truth, hear this, everyone who is of truth hears my voice. I wonder tonight, I want to know, are you hearing the voice of Jesus? Are you hearing the voice of truth? Do you hear the voice of Jesus speaking today? Or are you asking Pontius Pilate question, what is truth? Still in a search. Well, truth is not dependent upon the mind for existence. It's actual. It is the absolute. It does not yield or lower its standard to accommodate your needs, opinions, or desires. It is the standard. Come on, somebody help me say, truth is the standard. What is a standard? It's the idea or thing used as a measure for the norm or comparative evaluations as a rule for living. And I want you to hear this and today, because there are so many people that are living just based on their thoughts, on what they feel is right, not having any ethical standards or understanding what it is to have a moral standard. So therefore they float in and out of boundaries and lines, and they cross boundaries that they should not cross and do all these unethical things. Why? Because there is no standard. And I believe that's one of the things that Jude was fighting in his day as well. It was not just a morality issue, but it was standards of ethics. It was other kinds of things at play there that he was saying, hey, y'all come back and allow wisdom to be your friend. Allow wisdom to be a standard here. And so I'm going to move forward here. Another psychological term that can be used as an example of polluted thinking that distorts truth is cognitive distortion. It's a thought pattern that makes people think irrational and inaccurately. And so again, cognitive distortion. It's a pattern thought that causes people to think irrational and inaccurately. And so you that are listening, if you are experiencing cognitive distorted thought patterns, contend for the faith. Contend for the truth. Know what your triggers are. Know what the triggers that will cause you to think certain patterns. Most of the time, our thoughts are just a story you tell yourself to make sense of your own space, to make sense of your surroundings or your world. A means to attempt to justify your own very end. There are so many things that are wrong in today's culture that we now justify. And so, saints, we got to quit doing that. We've got to quit making everything just okay, because we're afraid to be canceled out for some particular reason. So ask questions. When you have a thought you're not sure about, question it. Ask yourself if it makes sense, and have evidence to support the thought. And so if you have a thought pattern and it's not making sense, take a step back and just don't look for evidence to support the bad thought, but look for the facts of what are real, what are actual, and what are absolute, and then bring and come to your conclusion. Why is all this mind talk so important? because truth is under attack and we must contend for the faith. Bad thoughts, cognitive distortions, unchecked, create bad belief systems and create bad behaviors. And we're seeing a church, we're seeing a culture, we're seeing a world full of bad behaviors. So in my closing tonight, I believe the Apostle Jude just wasn't contending for the accurate message of grace, but he also was contending for a standard of living as well, rules to follow, principles that we should stand on. In Proverbs chapter 4, it says, and it speaks to a security, that there is security in wisdom. And I'm going to read from the New King James Version. And verse 1 says this. It says, "Hear, my children, the instruction of a father, and give attention to know understanding. For, number 2, for I give you good doctrine. I give you good teachings," he's saying, "not to forsake my law." Verse 3, "When I was my father's son," this is what the writer is saying, he said, "tender, and the only one in sight of my mother." What happened? He said, "He also taught me and said to me, let your heart retain my words. Keep my commands and live. Get wisdom, get understanding. Do not forget nor turn away from the words of my mouth." Verse 6 says, "Do not forsake her." In other words, who is he talking about? Wisdom. "Don't forsake her, and she will preserve you. Love her, and she will keep you. She will protect you. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and in all you're getting, get an understanding. Exalt wisdom, and she will promote you. She will bring you honor when you embrace her. She will place on your head an ornament of grace. A crown of glory she will deliver unto you." So, saints and friends, I encourage you tonight to hold on and contend for the truth, the faith, the wisdom of the Word of God, the wisdom of the teaching of the saints of old, the wisdom of the things that have brought us safely to the place that we are today in Jesus Christ. Contend for the faith. The cultural post-truth that they're presenting today, discard it. All of those things that are distorting the facts and the things that we know are righteous, we have to discard it so that we can continue on in the faith and be all that God is calling for in these days. God bless you tonight. I pray that you enjoyed this short teach. I pray that you are encouraged. And guess what? We will see you when? On Sunday morning.